There it is.
Thank
Nailed
you.
it.
That's a really good idea, and I forgot to mention that one. So yes, over to you then, Amelia.
Great. Okay, I am in the document. It looks like a handful of you are as well. Let's see, the first thing I wanted to cover is the current proposals that our team has in flight, or our working group has in flight. The biggest one is the NATS V1 to V2 upgrade that my team has been diligently working on for a long time. And it's under wrap up now, so we hope for it to come out in probably the next month or two. I think we're kind of in the like edge case testing phase right now. The whole idea is that we want to get to V2 to be supported. But V1 NATSs do not talk to V2 NATSs, so the way that Bosch does rolling deploys doesn't work. If we were running our own, just one nice CF, it would be an easy, oh, let's spin up the new ones and then switch all the traffic. But that's not what we're doing, or that's not how Bosch works. So we're basically building that in to the functionality so that you will deploy both, and then a trigger happens and they all swap over. So that's coming up. I'm very excited that we're getting this done because, as you all know, we've had some NATS issues in the past, and we hope that this will help the performance. The next thing that's coming up is Go 118, bumping to Go 118 because 119 is coming out in August, and they only support N-1, so that means we need to get to 18 before they get to 19. And the biggest change there is that TLS 1.0 and 1.1 will no longer be supported by default. So things like Go Router, where we've always exposed a flag that says, hey, do you want to use TLS 1.0 and 1.1? We've that's been wired through. We can make it support it. That won't change. But if you're reaching out to anything, for example, route services, reach out to, who knows what on the internet, or reaching out to databases, for example, those connections will no longer be allowed to be TLS 1.0 or 1.1. I might have said the wrong version earlier, whatever. And then there's also a very similar change about certs that are, what is it? I'm forgetting how they're signed.
SHA-1 hashing.
SHA-1, yeah.
SHA-1 hashing of certs is no longer supported, and that one is hard to change. I think that's kind of, eventually you're just going to have to get rid of these SHA-1 signed certs.
Yep. So things that, the internet's been saying, hey, you shouldn't do this for probably over 10 years now, we're finally getting around to actually banning. So that'll be coming up soon, hopefully, before August. So those are the biggest technical things that we're thinking about. Some updates since last time are just about the working group is, let's see, we changed the approval requirements. Of course, you were all involved in that to make more sense for how our working group works so that it will be easier for people to join. Currently, all approvers have correct access to repos. So we made our edits to the big CFYAML. They can now, all of our community members can now merge, the appropriate community members can now merge. And recently the community members asked for access to the routing pipeline so that they can say, okay, now that I've merged something, did it break anything? And so I have that PR ready to go to give them access. I haven't merged it yet because I want to give an overview of the pipeline at our next forum meeting. So I'll give them access and do an overview of the pipeline at the exact same time. Let's see. Some things we're thinking about is removing access from the non-standardized teams from the CFYAML. Haven't started doing that yet. I'm constantly warning people that it's coming. Our PR and issue reviewers, I'm currently assigning them. They're not assigned automatically. There's just so many repos to update. And of course, we haven't gotten our first non-bootstrapped approvers yet. So that's by same as from last time. It's that 3 of our areas, Diego, logging and metrics, and docs subgroups are all VMware employees. It would be great to not have them be all VMware employees. And so if anyone knows anyone who's interested in being an approver in any area, but especially those, let me know so I can start assigning issues to them or PRs to them for them to review, and so they can start racking up the points that they need in order to become an approver. Cool. That's what I got. Any questions?
Well, as always, I think a brilliantly presented update from the working group. So that's really nice to see. So, I mean, have you had any kind of pushback on the non-standard team removal? I'm just thinking, knowing that Stephan's doing some work in this area at the moment.
Push back in which way?
As in anyone kind of screaming and going, can you hold fire for a couple of weeks?
Oh, that has not happened yet. I feel like I'm much more likely just to pull the rug out and then we'll see what breaks and fix it.
Yeah, one thing to maybe do before is there's this pull request from Stephan. And one change there is that working group definitions also need to contain bots, or they can contain bots. So maybe update that definition to also contain the bots that you depend on would be a good preparation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if I'll delete any team that has bots in it, I'll just move them over.
Yeah, my idea is that we today merge this magic PR and then check it with a upper runtime deployments working group and the foundational infrastructure group. And if that works out more or less painless or with little pain, then I would enable it for all working groups. Of course, I invite you and you can say yes or no. But if you have teams that are matching exactly in spelling, etc., the generated teams, and of course your team will be replaced bluntly. And otherwise you get just additional teams. So then nothing is supposed to happen, and you can then compare how the new standard teams look like. And the interesting part is then this spicy PR, how to get rid of them. That's something we probably need to discuss, how to do it. I mean, the envisioned end result is clear, but how to get there are several options: hard, short, and painful, or slower and painful as well. I don't know.
Can you send me a link to this PR that you opened, Stephan?
Yep.
Thank you.
I mean, I kind of go down the Band-Aid route on this, just get it gone. Okay. Cool. Any other questions for Amelia?
Not a question per se, but in the last month or so, Amelia had orchestrated a couple of blog posts with folks from the working group. So that is really very useful and much appreciated on behalf of the CFF. So thanks for that as well, Amelia.
Yeah. I should have provided links to this. Thanks for remembering them. I think one was about dynamic egress. Sorry, dynamic ASGs, never say dynamic egress. And oh, I don't even remember what the other one was about now.
Just cycle back because I'm pretty sure that we've got it.
There was an update about networking stuff. So
yes,
how container to container communication happened over TLS.
That's right. Yep.
So it was those two.
I'm bad at remembering the things we do to celebrate them. Thanks for remembering.
Oh. Okay, cool. So if there's nothing else, then shall we move on to reviewing actions from last week? Yeah. So the first one, Stephan, on you to create a PR for foundational infrastructure and app runtime interfaces working group to use team-based automation, which you've already posted conveniently as 310. So that one was sorted. Did you want to talk through that one now?
I can say a few words. I mean, the automation is just implemented. It generates the teams specified in this one RFC, so that should be okay. The interesting part is what you will see in the YAML sections of every working group is now a bots section, which is empty for all the working groups, but the foundational infrastructure and the runtime deployments working group have the first bots inserted just to test that. And yep, if everybody agrees, I would simply merge it after the POC and then see what happens. The validation is red. I guess because this funny tool, which I forget the name every time,
Very Bolos.
cannot handle, yeah, exactly, cannot handle if a new team is added and modified in the same PR. It looks to me like this. So I would simply merge it, see what happens, and if it runs through, and if not, we have to clean up, revert, whatever.
Okay, cool. It's got a thumbs up from me on that one. And from Ruben as well. So that's all cool. And then the next one was Ruben, your post on CF Dev regarding 308 cleanup stem cells. I did see that got a little bit active. I'll just post the link in chat.
Quite a bit of traction.
Yeah, so with regards to the action on that one, do you think that there's more that needs to be done in terms of mitigating those particular points that were raised, or do you think you've got them all covered?
Yeah, I will update the proposal to don't distinguish between light and normal, just do everything for 3 years, because that will already give us enough cost benefit and we don't make it too complicated.
Okay. So I'll put you down to update between steps. Cool. Right, so from I can't spell, that's cool. So that's that one. Okay. Let's just start loading up the project board. And I will share that when I find. Oh, there we are. Thank you. Okay. So in terms of things that we've got to review, we've got a David up first for an RCF.
RCF, yeah. Root cause foundation. Man, nobody caught that. It's been that way the whole time, but anyway.
I saw it, but just went, no, I'm just letting it go.
Yeah. Well, we're done with the period. No one has said that there's a problem, as far as I remember. So I think we are done with this. I need to run the automation to merge it.
Yep.
I definitely know how to do that, so that's good. And I don't. I'm just lying, obviously.
I think we can merge it, and that we can set it up to number it later to give it the official number assignment. That happens after merge. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, David, there was this question from the cryogenics team on our side about having a test enabling volume services.
Yep. Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Back to that. Did I not write back to that?
Yeah.
This is not about the Bosch bootloader coverage one. Okay, sorry. This is a different question. Having a test for volume services on 2 different VM sizes?
No, it's just if they were worried that because their pipeline doesn't capture for this, if the default VM sizes change, they were worried of catching this very late. Just if there's a test that's happening, just improve it with some volume services and see it doesn't break. That's the only thing that they were maybe asking for, if it can be possible.
I think the amount of work required to pre-test this change is tremendous, right? like to build a representative environment on 3 different infrastructures to run full acceptance suites, including volume service suites, is just tremendously high, right? We're talking about a week or 2 worth of work. It's not worth it, right? It's not worth the time on a change that should not break anybody. Like, let's catch it after the fact if it causes a problem, rather than the amount of work required to be conservative on a change that doesn't automatically roll out essentially to anyone. It only affects new environments, which are basically testing environments. So it is more likely to break tests than it is likely to break someone's real environment.
Okay.
And therefore, we don't need to do the work to pre-test it to find out whether it's going to break the tests. We can actually just let the test break if they break. I don't anticipate them breaking. I am a little concerned that these machines are a little slower, right? I mean, we're using efficient VM sizes, right? And so like the most likely failure is going to be around a timing issue that gets slightly longer than the timeout, where it used to be slightly shorter than the timeout. We're specifically worried about Google because we don't test on Azure really. So the Azure VM size changes I've made will not break any tests because no one's testing on Azure for open source Cloud Foundry. And then, so we only test on Google and Amazon. The change I made to Amazon uses T3 instances, and T3 instances are unlimited burstable. You can burst as much as you want, 100% CPU all the time. So they're not actually slower than M5 or M4 instances significantly. Why is there something called a burst VM size where you can burst as much as you want? It's a great question, and we'll save all questions for later. But on Google, they're actually seriously burstable. They're like, yeah, you get some burst time, but then we're gonna throttle you way down. And you know, the E series VMs I've been experimenting with a little bit. They vary, right? They make no guarantee about CPU, about exactly which one they're going to give you. So they're giving you a CPU. You might get a faster one than you do with an N1. You might get a slower one than you might get some really old one they got laying around. And that's how they're able to give you those great cost savings on the E2s. So I think if anything happens, it's not going to be a functional problem where it doesn't work on the new hardware. It's going to be a timing problem. And we might have to change a timeout. Unfortunately, we won't see it for a while, right? Because like the propagation delay of about when it gets into bubble and when the next bubble release happens and when the next Bosch deployment and jumpbox deployment that gets merged into bubble, which then gets used to kick off a new CF deployment. The propagation delay is quite long. But if we see something in the next month or two that's timing related, it's probably going to be the switch to the cheaper VM sizes. But I don't think it's worth weeks of work to pre-test it. I think we just have to be on the lookout for fixing any failures after the fact.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Cool. So then we've got updating the roles to match RFC 006 and 008, which from Stephan, you got some changes on there.
Yeah, I just proposed to add the links to the RFCs so that we know where to find the real sources. I mean, I'm fine to modify this document because that makes the community more approachable, but whatever we do, it will get out of sync. I mean, that's the reality. So having the links would work, and over time, we will then have a list of 20 RFCs that build up on each other to modify something, and hopefully this document compiles the resulting requirements.
Okay.
That was basically all. Otherwise, I'm fine.
That seems like a perfectly sensible change to me. So I think we should give that one a few days to see if that happens by the author, or if not, we can always go in there if needs be. Yeah,
we can do it also on our own.
Yeah, I agree with wanting those changes, but otherwise it looking fine. So if we don't get a response from the submitter, then I think it makes sense to just go in and do that ourselves and merge.
Yep, cool. Clean up stem cells, we've already covered that one off. So there's the tweak on that one to just clarify. And then add CF Linux FS4. So this one has got TOC approval overall. So I think that one's good to go. Did anyone want to have a quick look at this one beforehand? Oh, I'll press the button. Cool. So that's that one merged over. In blocked, we've got Stratos, which is, yep, still where it is on there. Then now, So, Stephan, we're going to have a bit of a chain here, aren't we? With 310 needing to be merged in before we can start to move up into the non-standard teams, correct?
Yeah. So we should merge 310.
Yep.
Then we should enable it, because at the moment I have limited only to 2 working groups. Then I will file a PR to enable it everywhere. That's easy. You just wait a week and we can decide next week about it. And what is still missing is PR that adds the TOC and the working group leads team. But that's also, yeah, just have to do it. And
Okay.
I think then we are fine.
Okay. And we've got quorum on this one as well. So I'm going to propose that we just get this one merged in now. Anyone disagree? Cool. Dun, 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 dun. Cool. That's that one merged in. So then that covers us. Oh, there is the next one. The bill pack dependencies. I did see that there was a bit of back and forth on there, and we're not able to get anything down on the costs other than the 10K a month, which is yeah, a little bit awkward, I guess.
Yeah, I think maybe we're okay on this just because we had said at a previous TOC meeting, we can always switch things back if things are more expensive than we originally expected. So like we could just try it out. I know we'd also been debating whether this was really required an RFC level, like if maybe we eventually want a more general RFC saying what the policy should be across all of the CFF accounts and assets.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I guess it's just the first one, and it's figuring out what that financial impact's going to be, where you've got the opacity on one side. Okay, cool. Well, I think that one's sensible then to call open for final comment period.
Yeah, we can put out a call for it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm being Slack annoyed, so I'll have to kill that. Go away, Slack. Quit Slack. Go away. Thank you. And I think I got everything out from the icebox already that was relevant. Are there any other PRs anyone wants to flag up at this point? Let's do that so I can see you all again. No. Okay, cool. So, Chris, are there any election updates for this week?
There are. We had an election. Yeah, it went quite well, I think. I just notified, so the results are in. Yeah, the election closed last Friday evening. I've already notified the results to the 4 candidates. I guess I can share it here. We'll announce publicly tomorrow. However, this meeting also won't be shared publicly until tomorrow. So, Ruben, Behan, and Andy Hunt were all elected to the TOC. Andy narrowly edged out Peter Burkholder, and but I did notify Peter and let him know that there is, of course, a chance that the TOC could elect to backfill a vacancy with the results of this election, i.e. him, at some point next year. So yeah, I notified them all of that. And yeah, so next week will be the first week of our new TOC class of 2022. Woohoo! If this is the class of 2022, that'll be the class of 2023 if there's, I don't know. So I guess technically this would be the last meeting that Jan and David and Lee are obligated to attend. However, I think, you know, it would maybe be nice if you showed up next week to welcome the new class in. And Lee, if you wanted to maybe continue on in your in your lead role for next meeting, just to set a beautiful precedent for whoever is going to be the next lead coming up. That would be great. But yeah, it was a decent turnout, I thought, for voting, and it went pretty well. And this Electo thing, yeah, worked great. So thank you, Eric, for reminding us that we should do that.
Yeah, sure. Glad it worked out. I also heard from Josh Burkus, who's the primary maintainer of it. I had sent in a small PR to get things working on a branch, and nudged him last week. He let me know, I think there are some like data integrity improvements coming, but we might need to do a little bit of database surgery if we want to retain the past election records in the database. If we don't care about them, we could just blow them away too, because I know we're going to put all the records in the community repo anyway.
Right. If we put them in the repo, then you download a CSV and it's just like we did last year. So I think that's probably the only record we need, right?
Yeah.
Should be straightforward.
Maybe we'll give it a shot. He said it'll auto migrate on Postgres, but I set it up using MySQL, so no dice. But we could maybe take the opportunity to try out Postgres instead and see what moving the data over would be like anyway, because the schemas are the same, up to maybe a few data type differences.
Cool.
Oh, awesome. Well, yes, I will certainly set up the agenda for next week, so there's no problem with that one. And turn up to at least say hello to everyone, and then kind of cause chaos in my usual way, and then maybe slink off into the background. Who knows? Who knows how that one's going to pan out? Thinking about that in relation for an agenda for next week, do we want a working group update, or do we want to pause that for a week with the new TOC coming in so that you can figure out things like who's going to be chairing the TOC going forwards?
Well, the chair process might take, I mean, I don't think that'll be decided next week, right? Like we'd announce that that's something that needs to be decided. And then sometime the next week, someone would nominate themselves or someone else, and then probably vote on it and start that the following week, I would think. So I think that probably, I mean, up to you all, but I think there'd be plenty of time for an update.
Okay. Eric, do you want to prod people for next week then?
Yeah, sounds good. I think Paketo is next in the order that we had established arbitrarily before this.
That does sound right to me.
Congrats, Ruben. I had to say it.
I feel like I should have brought cupcakes or something.
Yeah.
Then I would just be eating a lot of cupcakes.
It'd take a while to post them.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's gonna be a group photo of the old TOC.
Eventually, when we get around to meeting up in person. Has anyone got any other business for this week?
No, although speaking of meeting up in person, I will remind you all that we are going to do a co-located event at KubeCon, although we're still waiting on CNCF to make that very official, but that's going to happen. So for those of you that can make it to Detroit in October, that'll be great. Hope to see somebody there. Oh, and Marcela, since you're here, I just wanted to ask, everything go okay now with the Service Fabric transfers? I think everything's squared away now, yeah?
We are trying to see if there's one of the integrations that is failing, one of the code coverage ones, but then they're trying to figure out the pages, GitHub pages.
Oh, the GitHub pages, okay. Well, yeah, I think
but all the rest is
okay. Travis and Easy CLA is good, so cool. Well, just let me know if you need anything else.
Okay, thanks.
Cool.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else for this week, then we should probably get some time back then in that case.
Sounds good.
So have a wonderful week all, and catch you in the not too distant.
Bye. See you.
Thanks,
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.